The phone rang at 11 o'clock at night. I already knew who it was before I answered. "This time you give me everything. Did you hear?" My son shouted from the other end of the line. "Don't give me your usual excuses." I stood there in the kitchen, looking at the plate of noodles I had eaten for dinner for the third time this week. The same cheap noodles I buy because half of my pension has been going straight into his pockets for 8 months now. "Dad, are you listening to me? I need the money tomorrow morning." "Yes, I hear you," I whispered, feeling that familiar knot in my stomach. "My name is Roberto. I'm 67 years old, and my pension is $800 a month. It should be enough to live with dignity, but not when your 34-year-old adult son has become your worst financial nightmare. Sebastian, my only son, has been unemployed for 2 years. Not because he can't find work, but because, according to him, he's looking for something worthwhile. Meanwhile, I've become his personal ATM. This morning, I walked 40 minutes to the market because I didn't even have money for the bus. My shoes have a hole in the left sole that I try to patch with cardboard, but when it rains, everything gets soaked. I stopped buying my blood pressure medication 3 months ago. After all, what does it matter if I have a heart attack? At least Sebastian won't ask me for more money. Last month, I sold my deceased wife's wedding ring. 40 years of marriage reduced to $200, which I gave him for a supposed emergency. Later, I found out from my neighbor that she saw him at the casino that same night. "Dad, are you still there?" His voice became more aggressive. "Yes, I'm here." "Perfect, because this time I'm not taking no for an answer. It's $500. I need it by Monday." $500? More than half of my entire pension, Sebastian. No excuses, he interrupted me. "If you don't give it to me, you know what happens. You won't see Sophia and Miguel again, and you can forget about me visiting you at Christmas." Sophia and Miguel, my 6- and 4-year-old grandchildren, the only rays of light in this gray life my existence has become. I haven't seen them for 3 months because, last time, I couldn't give him the money he asked for. The threat is always the same. The grandchildren are his most effective weapon. He knows it, and he uses it without mercy. Besides, he continued with that cruelty he has perfected. "Mom would be very disappointed in you. She always said that family helps each other unconditionally." There it was. The mention of Maria, my wife, who died 3 years ago and who would never have tolerated this. Sebastian turns her memory into a tool of manipulation, and that hurts me more than anything else. "Please, Sebastian, this month I already gave you $300. I can't give any more." "Of course, you can," he laughed contemptuously. "You always find the money. Besides, what do you spend so much on? You only eat noodles and don't go anywhere." He was right. He knows perfectly well that I've reduced my life to the bare minimum to satisfy his constant demands. I don't turn on the heating to save on electricity. I buy the cheapest meat at the market when I can afford it. I've canceled cable, the internet, everything I considered unnecessary. "Look, old man," his tone became threatening. "Don't make me come over there. You know how I get when you don't cooperate." Yes, I knew. The last time he came to the house, he shouted so much that the neighbors threatened to call the police. He rummaged through my drawers looking for hidden money. He took my portable radio because, according to him, I didn't need it. This morning I saw him drive by my building in his used BMW, a car worth more than everything I own, while I walk around in these ruined shoes because I don't have money for new ones. "Do you know what I need the money for?" he asked with a smile I could hear in his voice. "My friends organized a trip to the beach. 5 days at a resort. I deserve it after so much stress looking for work. A trip to the beach while I eat cold noodles because I don't want to waste gas heating them up. Sebastian, please." "Monday, Dad. Early Monday, I expect the transfer. If not, you know the consequences." He hung up. I stood there, holding the dead phone, looking at my reflection in the kitchen window, an old, tired, defeated man. But something had changed in these last few days. A week ago, I made a decision that my son doesn't see coming. A decision that will change everything between us forever. Saturday morning, I made a decision. I dialed the number of Sophia, my 20-year-old granddaughter. "Grandpa," she answered, surprised. "What a joy to hear you." "Hello, my love," I said, trying to sound casual. "How are you?" "Fine, Grandpa, but missing you a lot. It's been so long since we've seen you." "That's precisely why I'm calling." I took a deep breath. "Would you and Miguel like to come visit me tonight? It's been a long time since we've talked." "Of course," she replied excitedly. "What time? Is 8 o'clock okay? We can have some dinner together." "Perfect, Grandpa. We'll be there." Then I called Miguel. "Grandpa." "What a surprise," he said, his voice no longer that of a child. "Miguel, can you come over to the house tonight? Sophia is coming too. I miss you both very much." "Of course. Is something wrong? You sound a little strange." "No, I just want to see you. Many months have passed." "Okay, Grandpa. See you at 8 o'clock." I hung up the phone, feeling a mixture of nerves and determination. My grandchildren didn't know what they were going to witness that night. They didn't know their father would come at the exact same time to humiliate and rob me as he had been doing for months. But I knew, and the time had come for them to know the truth about their father. I spent the rest of the day cleaning the apartment and preparing some food. I wanted everything to be perfect for when they arrived. I also wanted them to feel comfortable and safe when the storm began. At 7:30, the doorbell rang. "Grandpa," Sophia shouted from the hallway. I opened the door, and there they were. Sophia, beautiful with her radiant smile. Miguel, already as tall as his father, with the same kind eyes as his grandmother. "Grandpa." Sophia hugged me tightly. "I missed you so much." Miguel hugged me too. "Why has it been so long since we've seen each other?" he asked with genuine curiosity. "Dad always says you're busy or not feeling well." Come in, I said, evading the question for now. "I have empanadas in the oven." They came in and sat on the sofa in the same living room where, every night, their father shouted at me and threatened me. "Grandpa, the house looks different," Sophia observed, looking around. "Different? How?" "I don't know. Emptier. Where's the radio you had in the kitchen? And the painting that was there?" Miguel also started noticing things. "Grandpa, what happened to the big television? This one is much smaller." "I had to make some changes," I lied. "At my age, one doesn't need so many things." But Sophia was very observant, just like her grandmother. "Grandpa, are you okay financially? You look thinner." "I'm fine, my love. Don't worry about me." Miguel got up and went to the kitchen. "Grandpa, your refrigerator is almost empty. You only have noodles and bread." The kids were realizing something was wrong, but they didn't know what. At 7:55, I decided to prepare them a little. "Kids," I said, trying to sound casual, "your dad might stop by in a little while." "Dad?" Sophia asked, surprised. "Does he know we're here?" "No," I admitted. "But sometimes he comes to visit me on Saturday nights." "How strange," said Miguel. "Dad never told us he came to see you. He always says you don't have time for visitors." At that moment, we heard footsteps in the hallway. Loud, hurried, familiar footsteps. "I think that's him," I whispered. Sophia and Miguel got excited. "What a surprise," said Sophia. "We're all going to be together." If only she knew, I thought. If only she knew what was about to happen. The footsteps stopped in front of my door. 3 dry, impatient knocks. The same ritual every week. "Dad, open up. I'm here for the money." Sophia and Miguel looked at each other, confused. "What money?" Miguel whispered. I slowly walked towards the door. My grandchildren followed me, curious about the strange phrase they had just heard. I opened the door. Sebastian entered, as always without permission, arrogant, speaking before looking. "Dad, I hope you have the money ready, because this time I'm not accepting excuses," he said as he walked towards the living room. "My friends already bought the tickets, and I'm not going to look like an idiot who can't pay his share. I need the $500 right now." And he stopped dead in his tracks. His cell phone fell from his hand and bounced on the floor. "Miguel," he whispered, completely pale. "Hi, Dad," said Sofia, completely confused. "What money?" Miguel approached his father. "Dad, why are you talking to Grandpa like that? What money do you need?" Sebastian looked at me with absolute panic in his eyes. He realized he had fallen into a perfect trap. This," he stammered, trying to think of an explanation. Sofia picked up her father's cell phone and handed it to him, but her expression had completely changed. "Dad, you just came in shouting and demanding money. You asked Grandpa for money." "It's not what it seems," Sebastian said, sweating. Miguel stepped between his father and me. "What do you mean it's not what it seems? We just heard you. You said, 'I'm here for the money, and I'm not accepting excuses.'" The children began to put two and two together. They looked at the empty apartment, my thinness, the tension in the air. "Grandpa," Sofia said slowly, "does Dad ask you for money often?" Sebastian shot me a desperate look, begging me to lie. But I wasn't going to lie anymore. "Yes," I replied clearly. "Your father constantly asks me for money." Miguel turned to Sebastian in disbelief. "You ask Grandpa for money? A 67-year-old retiree." Sebastian tried to regain control. "Look, this is between your grandfather and me. You don't understand." "No," Sofia interrupted him with a firmness that surprised me. "We want to understand. How much money have you asked him for?" Sebastian ran his hands over his face. It's temporary. I'm going through a rough patch." "How much?" Miguel insisted. Sebastian didn't answer. I decided it was time for them to know the whole truth. "In the last 8 months," I said clearly, "your father has asked me for over $6,000. My grandchildren were stunned. $6,000? Sofia repeated. "From Grandpa's pension?" Miguel looked at his father with an expression I had never seen on him. "Dad, Grandpa's pension isn't even $1,000 a month. You've been taking more than half his money." Sebastian slumped into my chair, defeated. His children had caught him in the act, with no possibility of denial or manipulation. "That's why we haven't seen Grandpa," Sofia said, tears in her eyes. "That's why you always say he's busy or not feeling well." Miguel approached me. "Grandpa, does Dad threaten you to give him money?" I looked at Sebastian. His eyes begged me not to answer. But this time I wasn't going to protect him. "Yes," I said firmly. "He threatens that he won't let me see you if I don't give him what he asks for." Sofia covered her mouth with her hands, horrified. Miguel turned to his father with a fury I had never seen in him. "You use us as a threat against Grandpa? You turn us into weapons to blackmail him." Sebastian finally lifted his head, tears in his eyes. "It wasn't my intention for it to come to this," he murmured. "But it did," Sofia said, her voice breaking. "It did, Dad. And now we understand why Grandpa looks so sad and so thin." Miguel sat next to me on the sofa. "Grandpa, what does Dad need so much money for?" I looked at Sebastian one last time. It was his chance to tell the truth. "To gamble," Sebastian whispered. I have a gambling problem." My grandchildren looked at each other, processing all the information they had just received. Their father had been stealing from me for months, had used them as a threat, had lied about the reasons they couldn't see me, and now they knew the whole truth. The silence in the room was deafening. My grandchildren processed the information while Sebastian remained slumped in the chair, defeated. Miguel was the first to speak. "Dad, you have a gambling problem?" His voice sounded as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. Sebastian nodded slowly without lifting his head. Sofia wiped her tears abruptly. "And you've been stealing from Grandpa to pay your gambling debts?" "It's not stealing," Sebastian protested weakly. "He's my father. Family helps each other." "No," Miguel interrupted him firmly. "Family helps each other when there are real emergencies, not when there are vices. This is blackmail." Sofia stood in front of her father. "Dad, do you know what we had to do last month? Both of us work extra shifts to pay for our university because you said you didn't have money to help us. But you did have money to gamble." Miguel nodded. You told us you had lost your job and couldn't help us financially. But it turns out you did have money. Grandpa's money. Sebastian tried to defend himself. You are young. You can work. Your grandfather has his pension secured. His pension secured? I exploded. I go without my medication because I give you my money. I eat noodles every day because I can't afford anything else. My grandchildren looked at me in horror. You can't buy your medication? Sophia asked. What medication do you need, Grandpa? Miguel looked alarmed. For blood pressure, I admitted. I stopped buying it 3 months ago. Sophia turned to her father, furious. Dad, Grandpa could have a heart attack. Do you understand what you've been doing? Sebastian covered his face with his hands. I didn't want it to come to this. Everything got out of control. Miguel took out his cell phone. Well, this is over right now. We're going to solve this. What are you going to do? Sebastian asked in panic. Miguel was already dialing. I'm going to call Mom. She has to know what you've been doing. No! Sebastian shouted, jumping up. Patricia can't find out about this. Why not? Sophia demanded. Have you been lying to her, too? Miguel put the phone on speaker as it rang. Hello. Patricia answered. Miguel? How are you? Mom, we're at Grandpa's house with Dad. We need you to come over immediately. Did something happen? Is Grandpa okay? Grandpa's fine, but Dad isn't. Come quickly, please. I'm on my way, Patricia said and hung up. Sebastian looked desperate. Miguel, your mother doesn't need to know. Dad, Sophia interrupted him. Mom is going to know everything. And we're going to know everything, too. The lies are over. At that moment, I realized I didn't need to do anything else. My grandchildren had taken control of the situation. While we waited for Patricia, Miguel sat next to me. Grandpa, how many times has Dad threatened you? Every time he asks me for money, I answered honestly. He always says that if I don't give him what he wants, I won't see you again. Sophia approached Sebastian. Dad, do you realize what you've been doing to Grandpa? He's a 67-year-old man. He's worked his whole life. He deserves to live with dignity in his old age, not be your ATM. Miguel continued, and we deserve a relationship with our grandfather without you using it as a blackmail weapon. Sebastian began to cry. I didn't know how to stop. I owed more money each time. I needed more each time. When was the last time you actually looked for a job? Miguel asked. Sebastian didn't answer. When, Dad? Sophia insisted. Over a year ago, he admitted. Sophia sat down heavily on the sofa. A year? A whole year living off Grandpa's money while we thought you were looking for work. 20 minutes later, Patricia arrived. When I opened the door, she looked worried. What happened? She asked, entering quickly. Mom, said Miguel, sit down. There are things you need to know about Dad. For the next 15 minutes, my grandchildren told their mother everything. Every detail, every lie, every threat. Patricia listened in silence, her face growing more serious. When they finished, she turned to Sebastian. Is all this true? Sebastian nodded without looking up. Patricia approached me. Don Roberto, why didn't you tell me anything? Because he threatened to keep the children away from me if I spoke to you, I explained. And because I didn't want Sophia and Miguel to know their father was capable of this. Patricia turned to Sebastian with contained fury. Sebastian, this ends right now. What do you mean? We mean you're going to pay back every last cent you stole from Grandpa. Miguel stood up. With what money? Sebastian asked desperately. I don't have a job. Sophia crossed her arms. Then you get a job. Tomorrow morning you start looking for any job. I don't care if it's washing dishes. Patricia nodded. And until you pay back all the money, you won't see your children. What? Sebastian stood up, alarmed. Miguel confirmed his mother's decision. That's right, Dad. Until you pay Grandpa back what you stole from him, and until you seek professional help for your gambling addiction, we don't want to see you. But you're my children. We are the children of someone who used us to blackmail our grandfather, Sophia said coldly. That's not being a father. That's being a manipulator. Patricia approached Sebastian. You have two options. Either you do what your children are asking, or I myself will go tomorrow to file a complaint for extortion of an elderly person. Sebastian looked at all of us. He realized he had completely lost control over the family. How much time do I have? He asked, defeated. Miguel and Sophia looked at each other. 6 months, said Miguel. 6 months to return the money and prove you're going to therapy. And don't even think about coming to ask Grandpa for more money, Sophia added. If we find out you contacted him again to ask for money, it's over for good. Sebastian headed for the door. As he was leaving, he turned to me. Dad, I'm sorry. I looked at him intently. Apologies don't return my money, Sebastian. Actions do. He left. When the door closed, Patricia approached and hugged me. Don Roberto, I'm so terribly sorry. If I had known. Don't worry, I told her. The important thing is that now we all know the truth. Sophia and Miguel sat with me on the sofa. Grandpa, Sophia said, tomorrow morning we're taking you to buy your medication. Miguel nodded. And we're going to make sure you have food in the fridge. Patricia smiled for the first time that night. And we're going to set up a system so this never happens again. For the first time in 8 months, I felt protected by my family instead of vulnerable to them. Justice had arrived, not in the way I expected, but in the most perfect way possible. My grandchildren had rescued me. 4 months have passed since that night. Sebastian got a job in construction. It's hard work, but honest. He has paid back half the money and is going to therapy for his gambling addiction. My grandchildren visit me twice a week. Patricia also comes regularly. We have formed a support network that protects and cares for me. Sebastian can visit me, but only accompanied by Patricia or the kids, never alone. And he has never asked me for money again. My medications are up to date, my fridge is full, and, most importantly, my dignity is restored. If you are reading this and you identify with it, I want you to know something important. You don't have to suffer financial abuse in silence, not even if it comes from your own family. Adult children do not have the right to your pension. They do not have the right to blackmail you emotionally. And they definitely do not have the right to use your grandchildren as weapons. Seek help. Talk to other relatives. Contact organizations that specialize in elder abuse. And remember, sometimes the best way to help someone you love is by letting them face the consequences of their actions. True love includes boundaries, and it's never too late to set them. Sometimes justice comes from those we least expect. In my case, it came from 2 brave young people who decided to defend their grandfather. And that has been the greatest blessing of this whole nightmare. True love is not about giving everything without limits, but about knowing when to say no more to protect both ourselves and those we love. Sometimes the greatest show of love towards a child is refusing to be an accomplice in their self-destruction. And sometimes the youngest members of the family are the ones who teach us the true meaning of courage and justice. It's never too late to reclaim your dignity. You are never too old to defend your rights. And you are never as alone as you think. There is always someone willing to fight for you, even if you don't know it. Emotional blackmail is not love, it's manipulation. And recognizing the difference can save your life.